This week we're going to read Technology Wins the Game by Mark Andrews. Let's go over our vocabulary words. The first word is contribute, then improve, and then process. Contribute means to give in order to help someone or something. Improve means to make better. Process is a series of actions. Hello friends, time for another story this week. Our last story was about an inventor and different things he came up with to make things better. This week we're going to continue with that conversation, but we're going to implement it into a way where we can all try to come up with questions to improve sports. Okay, we all love sports, whether it's watching, whether it's playing. And there's all kinds of sports. There's football, there's basketball, and then you have your motocross, your four-wheeling, you have your horseback riding, barrel racing, running, track, all these different kind of sports. So everybody has to have something they like, whether they like watching it or participating in it. So get out your Journeys book and go to page 401, and let's talk about the why behind, we're going to read the why behind this story. I hope you're there. We're on page 401. If you have ever seen a photograph of a football player from long ago, you probably thought his uniform looked very odd. Sports equipment has changed over the years. Inventors known as sports engineers have used new knowledge about the human body, along with new materials, to design better and safer equipment. In Technology Wins the Game, you'll read about some of these important advances in sports technology. You'll also discover the process that engineers use to help athletes move more quickly and play more safely. So those of you who like football, this looks nothing like it does today, does it? I mean, these helmets. No way. They just don't look safe. All right, so let's keep going. So technology wins the game. So our focus this week is to ask questions. I want you to ask questions that make you think. So the questions might not necessarily be in the book. So these questions generally begin with why or what if, what would happen if, or even I wonder questions. I wonder questions are great to make you think and to add to something. So whenever you ask I wonder, it encourages you to read something else to learn about what you're wondering. All right, so how do inventions help athletes? That's our focus on page 404 now. Almost everyone loves a good game. However, it's not just athletic ability or skill that helps sports players win. Many other things can contribute to a winning team or player. One of those things is the use of technology. Technology has made our lives easier and better in many ways. In sports, technology can help all types of athletes perform better. It's all in the design. If you like sports and science, being a sports engineer might be the job for you. Sports engineers are scientists who make sports more fun to play and to watch. They design better materials, surfaces, and equipment. They help keep athletes safe from injury. A sports engineer has probably helped improve your favorite sport. So I want to think about this. Why does an athlete need to perform better? So how could you answer that? Why would they need to perform better? The science of sports engineering. Some sports engineers study the way athletes move when they play different sports. An engineer might watch a soccer player to see how the player's foot strikes the ball. This can lead to ideas about soccer shoes, the soccer ball, or even the soccer field. Engineers use these ideas to improve the game in some way. The first step for a sports engineer is to identify a problem in a sport, something to be improved. Almost anything can be improved. Then the sports engineer comes up with a possible solution. Next, he or she creates a model. The model may include a new kind of material. The new idea is then tested in a laboratory to see how well it works. Finally, the new product is tested by athletes. If it works well, soon athletes around the world will start to use it. So if we look at that model at the bottom of the page, it says the problem, idea for solution, create, model, and test. Changing the game. Let's take a look at tennis. This is a sport where sports engineers have made several changes. What a racket. Tennis rackets have changed a lot. When the sport began, tennis rackets were made out of wood. Then, in the 1960s, a metal racket was developed. Metal rackets were stronger and lighter than wood. Today, rackets are made out of different materials mixed together. These rackets are very light and provide more power than the old ones. The ball moves faster than ever. Today's rackets also have a larger head, or string area, than before. This makes it easier for the tennis player to reach more balls. A player can also control the ball better and make it move in different ways. More bounce to the ball. Tennis balls have come a long way too. The first tennis balls were made of leather or cloth stuffed with wool or horsehair. These balls did not bounce very high. In the 1870s, rubber was first used to make tennis balls. These balls bounced better, but the cloth that covered the ball would fall off. Today, tennis balls are still made of rubber. First, two matching half-shell pieces of rubber are joined together. This makes the hollow, round shape of the ball. Second, two pieces of felt are wrapped around the ball. Third, a rubber seam is added to keep the felt cover together. Finally, the balls are put into a can that is under pressure. This helps keep them bouncy. The whole process ensures that each tennis ball bounces exactly the same way. Where the ball bounces is up to the player. So I want you to think about that word process. It's one of our vocabulary words. Now the definition was a series of actions. So think of the series of actions that is involved in the process of making tennis balls. Higher and faster. Sports engineers help athletes perform in just about every sport. Track and field athletes run, jump, and throw. Sports engineers help these athletes run faster, jump higher, and throw farther. They design new and better track and field equipment, surfaces, and clothing. Jump higher. Have you ever watched a pole vaulter at the Olympics? A good pole vaulter must have speed, strength, and the right pole. The pole must be flexible and strong enough to bend and lift the vaulter over the bar. Poles used to be made out of wood. These were very stiff and heavy. Later, poles were made out of more flexible bamboo. Then engineers designed poles made of aluminum. Today, poles are made of fiberglass and are very light. They bend easily. The more the pole bends, the farther the vaulter sails through the air. So let's think, how are the poles able to bend without breaking? How would they bend without breaking? You would think if it pushes you up there, it might snap. So what goes into that? The other thing I want is let's watch pole vaulters in action so that way maybe we can answer that question. Yeah! What did you think of the pole vaulter? Pretty cool to watch, huh? All right, so now let's talk about a sport that Mrs. Kitzbühel loves to do. Does anybody have a guess? Run. So let's talk about run faster. What makes a runner fast? Athletic ability and good training are most important. Engineers have designed new track surfaces and clothing to help. Track runners used to run on grass fields. When it rained, the tracks would become soggy and slippery. Now, most runners run on all-weather tracks. These are man-made surfaces with a top coating of rubber chips. The rubber chips make the runner's shoes bounce off the track better. This increases speed. New kinds of clothing also help runners speed up. Many track stars don't wear shirts and shorts like they used to. They wear lightweight bodysuits that fit tightly. When they run in these suits, the wind does not slow them down. Every fraction of a second counts. There's a question I want to ask. Why does every second count when it comes to running? Think about that. So let's go down to the bottom there. The Boston Marathon is the oldest and most famous marathon race in the world. Each year, thousands of athletes run the 26.2-mile course through the hilly streets of Boston and neighboring towns. In 1975, Bob Hall finished the marathon in a different way. He wheeled his way to the finish line. Bob Hall was the first official wheelchair athlete to complete the Boston Marathon. He finished the race in less than 3 hours, faster than most runners. Today, wheelchair athletes compete with high-tech wheelchairs. Bob Hall used a simple wheelchair in the Boston Marathon. How awesome is that? In these shoes. Sport engineers have also designed shoes to make athletes faster and to give them more support. Athletes need different kinds of shoes for different sports. If you want to win, you need to wear the right shoes. A history of running shoes. This is interesting. In ancient times, runners ran barefoot. As time went on, athletes began to run in sandals. Soon the sandal wearers were winning most of the races. The running shoe was born. The next big change came in the 1830s in England. The first running shoe with a rubber sole was introduced. Rubber soles were light and comfortable. They also easily gripped the ground. Spikes were added to running shoes as early as 1852. In the 1920s, a German named Adi Dassler improved the design and sold the first modern running shoes with spikes. Spikes give runners a better grip. Today, shoemakers and engineers better understand the science of running. Running shoes are made for every style of runner and any surface. Engineers know that runners need shoes that are strong and flexible. So what would happen if you didn't have the right shoes? Extra bounce. Long jumpers need shoes that give athletes extra bounce. The soles must be firm but able to bend. These shoes have metal spikes in the front of the shoe only. This helps the jumper grip the ground and spring from the toes right before the jump. Quick movement. Soccer shoes have plastic or metal cleats or rounded spikes on the bottom. Cleats keep soccer players from slipping in the dirt, grass, and mud. Soccer players need to change direction quickly. Without cleats, soccer would be a slower, sloppier game. Play safely. Athletes also need special equipment and clothing to protect them from injury. Sports can be dangerous, and professional athletes often take risks. Football helmets. Over 100 years ago, football players did not wear helmets. Ouch! Then in the 1900s, players began to wear leather helmets. These early helmets did not provide much comfort or protection. Changes were needed. First, more padding was added. Second, a face mask was added to protect the nose and teeth. Also, the top of the helmet was made more round. This allowed a blow to the side of the helmet rather than strike head-on. Next, in 1939, the first plastic helmet was invented. Today's football helmets are made of a special plastic that is light and strong. The helmet design protects players from head injuries. Some football helmets are being tested with tiny computer chips inside of them. If a player hits his head, the chip sends a message to a computer. Scientists hope that these chips could tell coaches when a player needs medical help. So now I want you to try. What questions can you come up with about football? Whatever you can think of about the sport, whether it's about the helmets or the attire, what can you think of? Other safety features. Some ski clothes are made to help skiers in trouble. Sometimes backcountry skiers get lost or are injured miles away from anyone. Sports engineers develop special sensors for their clothing. The sensors send information about a skier's location. A rescue team receives the information, which helps the team find skiers who have fallen or are buried under the snow. Brightly colored jackets and vests called reflective wear make bicyclists easier to see in the dark. Just for fun. The next time you play your favorite sport, think about some of the equipment you use. Think about the kind of surface on which you are standing, running, or jumping. Notice how your sports shoes look or feel and help you perform. Now that you have read about sports engineering, you can think about how technology has improved your sport. Technology not only makes our lives easier and better, it also makes our lives a lot more fun. So luckily, Mrs. Kitzenville knows some people who do some fun sports. So I got a few videos that I put together, and I want you to watch them and see if you can come up with questions about the inventions that were needed to make these sports more fun or more safe. So think of the technology used. Okay? They even make them little so rookies like us can have a turn.